Welcome back to the channel, anime fans. Today we're diving into one of the most satisfying tropes in anime, the kind of story that makes you want to cheer, laugh, and sometimes even cry. It's the tale of the underdog. The character who starts at the very bottom, mocked by nobles, elites, or so-called geniuses. They're called trash, worthless, weak. They're betrayed, humiliated, and underestimated. But here's the twist. Those same arrogant nobles who laughed at them end up begging for mercy later. This trope is so powerful because it taps into something universal. We've all been underestimated at some point. We've all felt like outsiders. And anime takes that feeling and turns it into pure catharsis, watching someone rise from humiliation to dominance. In this video, we're counting down the top 10 anime where the trash becomes the legend. We'll explore their journeys, the betrayals they faced, the training they endured, and the epic moments where they turned the tables. So grab your popcorn, settle in, and let's celebrate the ultimate revenge of the underdog. Let's start with Hajime Nagumo. At first glance, Hajime is just an ordinary high school student, nothing special. When his entire class is transported to a fantasy world, he's given what seems like a weak ability. His classmates, especially the arrogant ones, immediately dismiss him as useless. But betrayal strikes. Hajime is pushed into a deadly abyss, abandoned and left to die. The nobles and classmates who look down on him think that's the end of his story. Stumma twist, except it isn't. In the darkness of the dungeon, Hajime transforms. He forges weapons, adapts to brutal conditions, and evolves into something far beyond human. His eyes change, his personality hardens, and he becomes a warrior feared by monsters and men alike. The beauty of Arifureta is watching the shift, from trash to unstoppable force. The same classmates who mocked him later realize he's the one they should fear. It's a brutal, bloody, and deeply satisfying revenge arc. Naofumi Iwatani's story is one of the most infamous betrayals in Isekai anime. Summoned as one of 4 legendary heroes, he's chosen to wield the shield. But in a world obsessed with offense, the shield is seen as worthless. Nobles and fellow heroes mock him, calling him weak. Then comes the ultimate humiliation. He's framed for a crime he didn't commit. Overnight, Naofumi goes from hero to pariah. The kingdom spits on his name. He's branded as trash. But Naofumi refuses to break. He builds his strength from nothing, relying on his wits, his resilience, and his bond with Raptalia. Slowly, he proves that defense can be the greatest offense. Watching nobles who once sneered at him beg for his help later is pure catharsis. Shield Hero is not just about power, it's about dignity, survival, and proving your worth when the world wants you to fail. Rudeus Greyrat begins life as a failure. In his previous world, he was mocked, isolated, and considered pathetic. Even after reincarnation, he carries the stigma of being trash. But here's where the story shines. Rudeus doesn't stay down. He trains relentlessly, mastering magic from a young age. His talent grows beyond anything the nobles could imagine. The nobles and elites who once dismissed him as worthless are forced to acknowledge his overwhelming power. His journey is messy, full of mistakes and growth. But that's what makes it real. Mushoku Tensei shows us that redemption is possible, even for someone branded as trash. And when Rudeus finally stands tall, the arrogance of others crumbles. Shin Wolford is reborn into a magical world and raised by a legendary wizard. At first, nobles dismiss him as inexperienced, just another kid with no real standing. But Shin's abilities are anything but ordinary. His magical talent is unmatched, his combat skills revolutionary. When he demonstrates his power, the same nobles who doubted him are left speechless. Soon, they're begging for his guidance, relying on him to protect their kingdoms. It's a perfect example of underestimated talent turning into unstoppable force. Seiya Ryu-Win is summoned as a hero, but his cautious nature makes others think he's cowardly and useless. The nobles laugh at his paranoia. They call him trash for over-preparing, for refusing to rush into battle. But when danger strikes, Seiya's meticulous preparation pays off. His insane power and foresight prove that he's the only one capable of saving the world. The nobles who mocked him, they end up begging for his help. From trash to indispensable hero, Seiya's transformation is both hilarious and epic. Subaru Natsuki is transported to another world with no powers. Nobles and elites dismiss him as worthless. He's mocked, beaten, and underestimated. But Subaru has one secret: the ability to return by death. Through endless suffering, he rewrites fate itself. He learns, adapts, and grows stronger with each failure. The nobles who once sneered at him are forced to recognize his resilience. Subaru proves that true strength isn't about flashy powers. Rimuru Tempest begins as a simple slime. Literally, the weakest monster imaginable. Nobles and powerful beings laugh at the idea of a slime leading anyone. But Rimuru evolves. He gains powers, allies, and wisdom. He builds a nation, commands respect from dragons, demons, and kings. From trash to ruler, Rimuru's rise is legendary. Watching nobles bow before a slime is one of the most satisfying reversals in anime. Momonga, later known as Ainz Gaon, is trapped in a game world. At first, nobles and rulers underestimate him, seeing only a skeletal figure. But his overwhelming magical power and strategic genius make them kneel before him. The arrogance of nobles crumbles when faced with true supremacy. Overlord is the ultimate fantasy of turning the tables, the so-called trash becoming the godlike ruler. Asta is born without magic in a world where magic defines status. Nobles ridicule him, calling him trash. But Asta's relentless training and anti-magic abilities allow him to fight on equal terms with the strongest. The nobles who mocked him are forced to admit that grit can surpass privilege. Black Clover is a love letter to determination. Asta proves that even without magic you can rise to greatness. Eren Yeager begins as a powerless boy mocked by elites and doubted by leaders. To nobles and military commanders, he's reckless trash. But Eren's transformation into the Attack Titan, and later his rise as a revolutionary force, flips the entire power structure. The nobles who once dismissed him end up begging for survival in a world reshaped by his will. Attack on Titan is not just an underdog story, it's a saga of vengeance, freedom, and the terrifying cost of power. And that's our list. From betrayed heroes to underestimated warriors, these anime prove one thing: never call someone trash because you might end up begging them for mercy later. These stories resonate because they remind us that strength can come from anywhere. It's not about birthright, privilege, or noble titles. It's about resilience, determination, and the will to rise when everyone expects you to fall. Which of these underdog stories is your favorite?